Hi, I'm Hope Savara. Join us every Monday on TNC Radio Live at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's Building Strong Minds.
Welcome in TNC Radio.live. This is Keep On Talking. And now here are your hosts, Tom and Christine.
Thank you very much, Tom. How are you doing tonight, Christine?
I am doing great. How are you tonight, Tom?
I am doing great. I'd like to welcome everybody to Keep On Talking Live, where we gather each week around a counter of knowledge to talk about some of the latest topics in trucking, share some stories, tall tales, advice, and a little bit of whatever else may kind of cross here, just like we used to do in the days before COVID at the truck stops, where there was still truck stop restaurants and drivers' tables. And we got kind of a busy show planned for you tonight, I think, with some great topics, some familiar voices who haven't been able to be around for a while. But one of the things we want to start off talking a little bit about tonight is next week. It's something kind of major on the calendar, but I can't remember what it is. Do you, Christine? A whole bunch of truckers are going to be there. What's it called?
Matt's.
Oh, Matt's, the Mid-America Truck Show. How could I forget that? But
yeah.
What was that?
You should know that by now, Tommy.
I should, considering that for the last month that at work, planning for IBI Security Transport's part of the show, who's graciously provided a lot of the VIP tickets that our listeners are using, but preparing our portion of it, working with Tom Kelly and other people. I'm so eating, breathing, living, and sleeping Matt's. My mother actually thought it was this week because of how much I've been working on it. But anyways, we've got some Matt's updates we want to give. And actually, I'm going to kick it over to you, Tom Kelly, because I know there's some exciting news that you have that's going to be happening there Friday at Matt's. And I want to make sure I get all that information out there properly. And I know you're the man with that information.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. Now, look, all of you know who Robert Palm is. And you've heard of the Truckers Final Mile, just a tremendous charity organization that over the course of the last 10 years have, just last year alone, he brought home 100 drivers. 100 drivers who had either been seriously hurt or died in the process of doing their work. But y'all, he's a full-time driver. That's his real job, is driving. And he's tired. And he wants to keep doing this, but he can't do it alone. So he's going to partner up with TFC Global, and we're going to kick all that off next Friday afternoon. They're at Matt's in the West Hall. What they call it, West Hall 1 or West Wing 1. So you'll find us. There'll be plenty of signage and all that kind of stuff. 2 hours. Taylor Barker and other singers who you will recognize will be there. I'll be doing the MC job, and we're going to work with TFC Global and the guy and Robert from the Truckers Final Mile. We're gonna raise some real money to support this. Look, I'm not surprising anybody when I tell you this is a lot of work, and it costs a lot of money. On average, you're talking around $3,000 per person to get them back home after a severe injury or death. That's on average. Some were substantially more than that. It's time for the rest of us now to come along and help Robert be successful, help TFC be successful, and make sure that that we get this done right going forward. Do I have some amens on that?
Amen.
Amen, Tom Kelly. I definitely agree with you on that one, because a lot of drivers do look at a bunch of charities, and Truckers Final Mile is definitely one of them that we have a passion for in this industry. And, there's a lot of them out there, but, the fact that he runs this from his truck, and he's very open as to what it costs to send some of these drivers home. He's been known for doing these 24-hour Facebook versions of a telethon by himself, these marathon sessions. The man has an amazing passion for what he does, and I'm so glad that we at TNC Radio can be part of it, and I'm glad he's partnering up with the great people over at TFC Global. So that's definitely going to be a good thing there. You can definitely stop by and visit with the TNC staff over at the booth 69077. We're sharing it with IBI Security Transports. You can stop by there. I know Idella Hansen, who a lot of people in the industry knows, will be spending a fair amount of time in the booth, and then a whole bunch of other TNC personalities and staff. I believe Shannon Courier is going to be coming by for a while. Larry and Angie Baum. I know I'll be there. You'll be there. Am I missing some people, Tom?
Oh, probably.
I'll be there.
But yeah, we'll have them all there. We'll be around.
It will definitely be a great event. So definitely stop by. There'll be just, a lot of just fun and fellowship at the booth, and, IBI might not be right for you. You might find somebody who it's right for and can pass that information along. So there's going to be lots of good things going on. But I think I've got all of the announcements for Mid-America covered. Can you think of anything else, Tom or Christine?
No. No, except, our next step is going into talking about what they're going to be, FMCSA, and going in to speak to them, and that's a different story.
It is, but coincidentally, that's the topic of tonight's conversation. Is there's going to be the FMCSA is going to have a booth there in the North Lobby where you can stop by and talk to them and comment on a variety of things and give them your opinions. And we're going to be giving some of mine and Christine's tips for do's and don'ts if you're talking to the FMCSA here a little later in the show. But one of the main things we want to focus on tonight is the FMCSA's got two main meetings planned, which I want to highlight. Then we're going to kind of go into where we want to talk about a little bit. On Friday from Thursday, the opening day, from 12 to 1, B104, which is over towards the South Lobby, South Wing area. They'll be doing updates, including drug and alcohol clearinghouse, the driver compensation study, and the driver detention time study. That's all going to be on Thursday from 12 to 1 in B104. And then on Friday from 10 to 11 in B104, they're doing an FMCSA broker listening session. There's been a lot of concerns in the industry that brokers are not passing the money on properly to all the various people that it should be, whether it's carriers, drivers, owner-operators, etc. So there's going to be a discussion on that from 10 to 11, once again in the B104. But what we want to talk a little bit about tonight is, and we talked about this earlier in the show about a month ago on February 14th, right around February 15th, when the FMCSA basically came out and said, hey, we're going to be updating the SMS system, the safety management system, the way we score things, group things to help identify companies that could be at risk and having various problems. So, and may need safety interventions. And the thing that I found very interesting is almost a month later, and this is courtesy of Overdrive. Matt Cole did an article on it. They've, as of March 14th, only 61 comments have been filed on the public docket. And Christine and I and Monkey Gouger have been talking to me earlier in the week about this. Why has only 61 comments been filed so far? This is a topic that really impacts drivers as well as carriers. And I think some of it is maybe people really don't understand what this is, why it's important, and how this can impact us. So that's some of the topics that we're going to be covering tonight. But one of the things when I was doing some research for the show tonight that I found interesting, this update that they're doing is focusing more on the carrier side. A lot of drivers have concerns about how some of the points and things are done for drivers. As of this moment, they are not proposing any changes to the driver's side. And we're going to get into a few of the things here after our first break as to, I know, Bug Christine and I think a lot of other drivers, about this system. So these are some of the things that we want to talk about tonight because it really is important. that we understand this and are talking to the FMCSA about about what we see as concerns here and how to fix some of this stuff. So we'll be getting a lot more into that. We're going to be coming up on a break. Just a reminder, if you want to see us at the Mid-America Truck Show, booth 69077, that'll be over in the West Wing. And if you want to find out Friday about the TFC and Truckers Final Mile event, we'll be more than happy to direct you to that because we'll be not too far from there. So anyways, we'll be back right after this. Keep your ears on.
Join Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time for Women Road Warriors on your driver navigation station, tncradio.live.
This blog on tncradio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 6 safety tips for truck driving in hot weather. Driving in the heat can create dangerous situations for truck drivers. Drivers need to take specific precautions before hitting the road in extreme heat. With the incoming heat wave dubbed as a heat dome by pressure in your tires. During the hottest months of the year, it's important to frequently check your tire pressure. Frequently checking on your tires can save you from a blowout. To get an accurate measurement, wait for your tires to cool down before checking the pressure. The heat and friction from the road cause your tires to warm up, which will cause a rise in tire pressure. Also, don't be afraid to take a break every couple of hours to let your tires cool down. While traveling in the summer months, you may want to give yourself some extra time to stop and check on your tires. Protect your engine. Not only should you protect yourself from the heat this summer, but you should also protect your engine. One way to keep your engine from overheating is to frequently check the engine oil. The oil keeps the engine cool and keeps the parts running smoothly. Engine coolant is just as important as engine oil. Coolant helps prevent the engine from overheating in extremely hot temperatures. Keep an eye on the coolant temperature gauge while driving. If the gauge goes above the safe temperature, pull over and see what's going on. Failing to assess the situation could lead to engine failure. Also, make sure to check for leaks in the hoses. A cracked hose could lead to engine failure. Tips to protect yourself from hot weather. It's just as important to protect yourself during extremely hot weather. Follow these steps to keep yourself cool and safe during these hot months. Stock up on water. As the temperature increases, you need to increase your water intake. Make sure to always have water in your truck. You never know when you might get stuck in traffic or break down on the side of the road. Wear sunscreen. Many truck drivers forget this step. Even when you're in your truck, you're still exposed to the harmful UVA rays from the sun. Make sure to put sunscreen on before hitting the road. Wear light-colored clothes. Light-colored clothing reflects light, and dark-colored clothing absorbs it. Wearing light-colored, loose-fitting clothes helps you stay cooler and more comfortable on the road. And be sure to check out our blog, 6 Safety Tips for Truck Driving While Driving in the Rain. This blog on tncradio.live was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. Hot Shots Secret presents Steve Summers' Overnight Drive nightly at midnight Eastern, 11 Central on tncradio.live or download the app .tncradio.live.
And we're back with Keep On Talking Live. I'm Tom Kirk with my co-host, Christine Gray. How are you doing, Christine?
Doing much better, I believe.
Oh, you sound much better. So we got that little minor technical bug worked out during the break. But what we're going to be talking about now and diving into is a little bit about this whole SMS safety management thing. So I want to take a quick poll here of the drivers that we have on tonight. And you know what? I should probably give our phone number. If you're listening in and want to take part of this conversation, it's 706-862-8620, which coincidentally is 706-TNC-0. I'm going to start off with you, Bruce. How familiar are you with this SMS system? What do you know about it? And do you think it is a problem for drivers and carriers?
I'm familiar with it, but as far as the point systems, I don't understand it very well and how they're doing it. What's what? I understand, violations for logbook or things like that. But I hear one side says, well, you can fight it, then you got big sack of Congress to get it straightened out. Or it's like, okay, it comes off, but the company side stays on for 4, 5, I don't know.
And we'll get into some of that there, because since I've moved into the office, I have a different perspective on some of it and some understandings from the office side. And I'm by no means an expert. That's the first thing I'm going to say here to anybody listening. I'm by no means an expert. I'm self-educated on this. And that, I think, is one of the problems that I know we'll get into a little bit later, is the fact that so many of us are self-educated on this and trying to find resources that explain it in a way that's understandable. Because when I was going through some of the FMCSA Federal Register tonight on this, what they want you to comment on, I'll tell you right now, it's either the best sleep medication I've ever read in my life, or you need to be a Philadelphia lawyer. And, well, I'm not a Philadelphia lawyer. So let's go to somebody else here real quick and kind of get their opinion on it. Terry, Granny, we haven't heard from you in quite a while. How are you doing tonight, my dear?
I am wonderful, but I'm losing signal. Can you leave me for last? I keep losing signal off and on. I'm in just an iffy area.
Not a problem. We'll come back to you here in just a minute. Hey, Dutch, we also
Thank you. Sorry, guys.
From you in a while. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Oh, who were you talking to? I'm sorry.
Oh, Nesta, we'll come to you in a minute. I was going to Dutch, but we'll come to you in just a second.
I didn't. Yeah. I was just going to say I don't know anything about anything anyway, so go ahead and talk to everybody else.
And it's fine not to know anything, because that's part of what this is going to, I think, turn into tonight, is that a lot of people don't understand it. So we've got 2 down for the moment, for they don't really understand it. Dutch, where are you on this?
I don't understand it either.
Okay, so we've got 3 I don't understands. Christine, I'm going to kick this over to you, because you may be one of our more versed people in this in some respects. How much do you understand about this?
Okay, so the one thing I do understand, because, I don't know about all, the rest, but when you pay attention to when you get pulled over enough, I guess because I get pulled over so often, your CSA score.
Can we clarify something real quick? Why do you get pulled over so often? Before people think you're an outlaw trucker.
Because I pull giant red stickers on this all around my truck, so I am an easy target. And my CSA score is actually pretty good. My company's is pretty good. I have an umbrella corporation with 4 companies underneath. Each one of our companies has a separate CSA score just for that reason. Now, CSA scores, if you were to actually Google it and pull it up, how is it calculated? They use 7 basics are defined: your crash indicator, controlled substance and alcohol, driver fitness, hazardous material compliance, HOS compliance, vehicle maintenance, and unsafe driving. So as they add those up or subtract, add is on the driver side and subtract is on the company side. So your company is for 2 years and the driver is for 3. And yes, it does go, it follows the driver and sticks with the company. Now, because they're tackling the company side and not the driver side, I think from my perspective, they should be tackling the driver's side. The part that, when we spoke earlier, or when I speak to a lot of drivers about this, is that when they're calculating points, say I get pulled over and I have a bad brake chamber, it's the same exact points. Say it's 20 points, and it's got a leak in it, or it's an automatic shutdown. Now sometimes you'll get a cop that'll be nice enough, and he'll give you the write up for it. It's leaking, but it's not locked up. But for me, it's the same as having a dead marine, a torn marine pollutant sticker on my truck, which technically isn't a placard, but because it goes side by side with the placard sticker, they're actually calculated the same way. So it's 20 points automatically on my license. It's on my CSA 2010 score. So as long as if you turn around and you're looking at them, yes, it is extremely important when you get pulled over and all those little things. It's one of the reasons why we get warnings and not written tickets. You can fight a ticket. You cannot fight a warning. And yes, was it Bruce who said that, it's like an act of Congress to get something removed? He's absolutely right. You could fight it until you're blue in the face. It's not going anywhere. It's there, permanent. 3 years before it comes off. That's just the way it is. So,
and are there some ways you can fight it? Yeah, yes. But are they? How successful they are? It all depends on who you talk to. I know in the case of our company, our safety director is pretty good at fighting certain things from the company side. Particularly if there's an accident where our driver's not at fault. He's been pretty good at getting in there and getting that removed from the company's side, because like when you're sitting on the side of the road and somebody runs into you and you have your triangles out, or, you're doing everything right and somebody runs into you, how is that the driver and our company's fault if they're doing the right thing and that's for whatever that particular circumstance is?
Okay. So I'm going to give here's an even better instance. And I had a driver a long time ago now this is the downfall to the CSA 2010 score and having a driver involved in an accident, okay? We had a driver going around the Beltway, or he was going around the outside of Birmingham, Alabama, and had a drunk cross the median and sideswipe him. Now, they went back 6 months because when you're involved in an accident, even though the drunk had hit him, they can turn around and go back 6 months in an accident. When they do that, DOT under CSA 2010 can turn around and say, well, if he had gone a different route, which by all rights, everybody knows that we can't go through Birmingham. We have to go around Birmingham if we have no business going up 65. They had said that he had no business being there, and they flagged him for 150 points. He had gone from being the best company driver to being the worst company driver, and it wasn't his fault. That is part of the problem with the CSA 2010 score.
Now, supposedly, with the way they're doing some of the weighting now, or some of these weightings are viewed as arbitrarily, and we're trying to keep this simple, and good luck on that. Because under the current system, some of these various metrics have this 1 through 10 thing where let's say a single light out on the truck is the same as having a brake chamber blown for the points, the point value and things like that, and the weighting. And that's ridiculous for a bunch of reasons, particularly since we all know lights can go out going down the road or intermittent. So that's one of the things they're looking in there. Everything's going to be weighted either as a category 1 or category 2. So there's some advantages to that. They're combining some things, which is both good and bad. They're doing a bunch of things, and on some ways it looks better, and on other ways, I think it's going to be worse. And we're going to get into a little more details on that after the break, and we're going to go back to the counter of knowledge to our cast of originals and some of our new folks and get their opinions on some of this. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more right after this. Keep your ears on.
The Hotshot Secret Facebook page gets a lot of robust Q&A about diesel problems and their solutions. We listen to our customers. Here are their words straight from their mouths about Hotshot Secret everyday diesel treatment. Our fans call it EDT.
I'm John Sharp, a.k.a. Jay Sharp from Newburgh, Pennsylvania. Use an EDT my local fuel mileage went to average of 22 to 23, and my highway MPG went to 26 to 28.
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm from Arizona. I drive a 02 Ford Excursion. I use EDT at every fill up, and my mileage went from 12.5 miles to gallon to 14 miles per gallon. I highly recommend it.
Everyday Diesel Treatment delivers a 6-in-1 premium fuel treatment for every fill-up, every time.
Everyday Diesel Treatment is available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. You know, in just the last 3 days of practice, I've spoken to 3 different people who are besieged by loneliness. They're very sad. 2 of them are widows, and one of them is a divorcee. And they're hurting. They're quite sad. They're dysphoric. And they wonder sometimes, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling like this? Shouldn't I be doing better? And one of the things I say to them is that lonely is the equivalent of hungry. When you're hungry, it's because you have a need that hasn't been fed. You wouldn't say, what's wrong with me? My stomach hurts. If you haven't eaten in 3 days, we would say there's nothing wrong with you. You just haven't fulfilled that need for nourishment. Well, the same thing is true about lonely. We now have research that says friendship is so important and intimacy is so important in well-being. Well, we also have research that says loneliness is actually a cardiac risk. We have research that says isolation is considered to be worse than obesity, and it's considered to be the new smoking. In fact, the Surgeon General reported that you can lose as many as 15 years off of your life if you're living in isolation. So here's the point. If you're hungry, get something to eat. But if you're lonely, you need social connection and stimulation if you want to be a well person.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
And we're back with Keep On Talking Live. I'm Tom Kirk, and she's still Christine Gray, and Tom Kelly's producing for us tonight. But we were talking about a few things during the break, and Granny, you were telling us a little bit about an accident where you got charged 100 points, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind about this one. Tell everyone what happened.
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank Tom Kelly for being willing to give a, like you had said, quote unquote, civilian point of view, because as a driver, we do tend to get jaded when we have bad experiences ourselves or people we know. And mine was, I was asleep in a service plaza on the turnpike in my bunk asleep. I had a student with me in the upper bunk, and a brand new driver with 1 month experience was with his trainer who had 3 months experience, took my hood off. I was the last spot, or in his case, the first spot that he, and he rounded the turn and took my hood. I got charged with it because according to his camera that was viewing, I was past the parking line by 1 inch.
Wow.
1 inch. 1 inch. Like, you owe anyone. Because of that, they charged me and said that had I parked properly, the accident would not have occurred.
Wow. Okay.
Took me a year to get it off my record. A year. And several $1,000s. 1 inch past the line.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
And then they wonder why we're jaded. Why we're jaded? Go figure.
It's DOT.
That's a really good question. Now, I have to ask this because I'm even wondering if it was a DOT officer. I'm going to have to ask this question. Was it Pennsylvania?
Virginia.
No, it was Ohio. It was Ohio.
She said the Turnpike, so I figure it was like Ohio or
Yeah.
there because
the police wouldn't even come out, Tom. The cops would not come onto the Service Plus property because there was no injuries.
Wow.
They wouldn't even come out.
Okay.
They filed this after the fact when my company charged their insurance company. They turned it in and said, well, according to our camera, your driver extended past the legal parking zone. And they believed they went with it.
And see, I know of a driver who's been going through a similar situation, a little bit different, where she was getting near a construction zone and she wasn't exactly in one lane. She was slightly straddling the lines. And the other insurance company for the pickup truck is basically saying, hey, your driver's making a lane change. Well, it's pretty clear they weren't. The problem was when you go and look and slow at the camera and look at it frame by frame, the pickup truck more or less turned in front of our truck, regardless of if it had been changing lanes or not. There's no way the truck would not have hit ours. And, I've seen some other dash cam videos lately where you see these cars, trucks, whatever it is, pickup trucks, basically doing a self-pit maneuver, for lack of a better term, and sometimes it's causing pretty horrific accidents. But we're getting a little sidetracked. Tom Kelly, I know you had some thoughts on this whole SMS system and what it means to drivers and companies and why we should be concerned.
Well, it's like this, guys. And last time we had this conversation back in February, I kind of went on a rat hole talking about is this the best place for the FMCSA to spend their time given the number of illegal companies that are still operating. I'm not going to go there again this time. So let's talk, so what are we trying to accomplish? The FMCSA has looked at the CSA and determined that it's not fair. Okay, well, okay. I think anybody can agree that anytime you put together a set of scores to determine whether or not a particular company or driver, but in this case we're only talking about the company, is perhaps due for an extra audit or perhaps needs to be more closely examined, how do you make that determination? What are the factors that go into determining that a particular company may be, in the not too distant future, a big issue that we need to worry about? So
risk.
Yeah. So what is the risk? How do you determine long term how this is going to work? So what they have done, the FMCSA, they have come up with a whole new system, if you will, that looks at the severity of different things, where what you've been pulled over for, what the issues have been, the different types of roadside violations, and looked at also things like how big is the company compared to other companies versus how many violations have they had, all that kind of stuff. So what they have done is they have built an entire website now, and it's called csa.fmcsa.gov, and that's dot.gov. So fmcsa.dot.gov/prioritization preview. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff there, but just look for prioritization, FMCSA prioritization preview. And especially if you own or manage a relatively small company, go in here and plug in your data from the last year and see what this would do to you in the coming years as far as the risk assessment that the FMCSA would have about you. Now, we're going to, for just a minute, pretend like everybody here is trying to do the right thing. Okay, so we're going to give everybody a fair shake for a moment. What the FMCSA says they're trying to do is to come up with a system that works fairly when they're looking at a company with 10 trucks, or they're looking at a company with 50 trucks, or they're looking at a company with 1,000 trucks, that the weights and measures of the violations and look, there's going to be violations all the time, but some are more important than others, right? And some are just downright scary, and you need to really worry about if this company is continually getting hit up with the same brake issues across the board, that's something that they could be at a higher risk. So they've come up with a weights and measure system that says, okay, these things are worth more than these violations. Okay, and this issue is worth more than that issue. So you have an opportunity to go out there and see, okay, based on your company's issues, what would this do to you in the future? Now, as Tom pointed out, only 60 comments are out there so far. You have until the middle of May to comment on whether or not this seems like a fair method to go forward. If nobody really says anything, this thing's going to go forward. Okay, right. And they're going to, have this prioritization preview. That's the phase we're in right now, where everybody gets to look and think, okay, is the priority of what they put here the right things? This is where I can't help you very much. Okay, as drivers, though, you need to go in here and determine, do they have the emphasis on the right syllable? Are they emphasizing the right things here? Are the right violations? Is this really what what is scary? And what are dangerous? And are these the red flags that you think they should be looking for? If not, you need to let them know. Because this is where it's going to start, and what you don't want to have is a year from now everybody saying, "Well, that was a stupid way to do it. You didn't give us the proper amount of time to determine whether or not." They're giving you everything they can, including a way to go in and figure out how your past actions would look under this new system. And if nobody looks, nobody says anything, this is the way it's going to be, and then you're going to be stuck with it for a while. Because we all know that once something gets through, once they get this thing through, it's going to be really hard to undo it.
And that's the truth. And one of all the things that I've looked at, there's one here that actually concerns me, and then we'll go to a break, is they're combining certain of the higher severity violations with out of service for drugs and alcohol or substance abuse issues. And while I understand why they're doing some of that, because at the end of the day, they're saying, hey, these are the carriers, large or small, that we think are having some problems that are more likely to result in crashes. Let's put it all together so we can focus more and give these carriers and drivers a little bit more examination. On one level, I think that's good. Where I have a problem is I still think there needs to be a little bit of separation, because so many drivers do not abuse substances. And I think that paints the entire industry in a bad light, because everybody goes, oh, look, it's category X. So when they're talking about it on the news, they're going to say, hey, this driver had a substance abuse issue that caused this accident. And, 70%, or I'm picking a high number intentionally to make a point, of drivers, have these issues, et cetera, et cetera. And they're looking at an entire category, not the specific problem. So I think there needs to be a way to separate those. But we'll be back with some more opinions. We're going to come back to our cast around the counter of knowledge and see some of their thoughts on this. We'll be right back after this. Keep your ears on.
I'm Hope Savara. Join us on tncradio.live at 7 p.m. Eastern with Building Strong Minds with your host, Dr. Christopher Cortman.
This blog on tncradio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. Common mistakes truck drivers continue to make. Getting into a car wreck is a risk everyone takes from driving a vehicle. Safety's not guaranteed while driving. Although you may be alert and driving safe, others may not. Wrecks of any kind are almost always traumatic. Wrecks that include heavy-duty trucks can be even more horrific because their injuries can be more severe and life-threatening. Truck drivers go through a long, extensive training process and must pass several exams to get their CDL. Even though truck driving school prepares truckers for life on the road, there's still mistakes truckers continue to make. Speeding. There may be some instances where you're running late to get a load delivered on time, so you speed to get there. Speeding is dangerous for all drivers. Going over the speed limit is not only illegal, it's risky and can lead to injuries or even death. Avoid speeding at any time. It's better to arrive late than risking your life and others. Rollover. Truck rollovers are due to a driver taking a turn too fast, inexperience, or load size. Rollovers tend to happen when drivers get too comfortable behind the wheel and forget to take extra precautions while driving. Remember to always pay attention and be aware of what you're hauling. Tailgating. Tailgating or following too close is something every driver should avoid. Driving too close behind a vehicle is extremely dangerous for heavy-duty truck drivers due to the weight and momentum of the truck. Keep your distance while driving. There should be at least 3 seconds between each vehicle on the road. Driving while tired. Sleep is very important for the overall well-being and safety of a truck driver. Due to the long hauls, truckers rarely get the recommended 8 hours of sleep every night. Truck drivers can drive up to 11 hours a day for 7 consecutive days. Drivers who fail to follow these guidelines put their lives and others at risk. Blind spots. Semi-trucks are notorious for their blind spots. Most blind spots are due to the inability to see when looking through a rear view or side mirror. Truckers must always be aware of their blind spots while driving. Failing to do so can result in serious injuries. Distracted driving. It's hard not to get distracted on the road when driving for 11 hours a day. Common distractions are eating while driving, looking at the GPS, texting and talking on the phone. Truck drivers should avoid texting and driving at all times. They should also consider investing in a headset to use when talking on the phone while driving. Weather conditions. When the weather changes, drivers need to adjust their speed and distance between other cars. Driving too fast and close in the rain or snow can result in a severe accident. There may be times when it's not safe to drive even after reducing the speed. Make sure to never drive when you feel uncertain of the weather conditions. This blog was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
And we're back with Keep On Talking Live. I'm Tom Kirk with my co-host Christine Gray, and we're gathered around the counter of knowledge tonight. And we've been talking things about FMCSA, SMS safety scores, and this public comment section that's going on, and the fact that there's only been around 60-some comments so far about a month in. And we've seen some other topics recently, particularly in regards to hours of service where drivers are requesting exemptions. Where they're into hundreds by this point. So drivers, we really encourage you to go out there, do more. FMCSA will be at the truck show this year. You can stop by, talk to them, but these written comments really are important. One of the things we were talking about a little bit during the break is how that one of the categories that I think that may not be looked at is maintenance in quite the right way. And by that I mean, how often as drivers have we taken something to the shop, have been told it's repaired, look at it, we're not mechanics, so we think it's been worked on or fixed, go back out on the road, then discover it's not working properly, still there, maybe get a ticket for a violation, but that goes on us when in fact it was an improper repair job. Maybe bolts were left out of brakes, the wrong part was put on. We've heard all kinds of stories, stories where drivers have lost tires after only driving for a few miles, and they were never told that the tires had been changed at the shop or the office or wherever it was at. So I want to go around real quick and ask everybody here, do you think that there should be more accountability for maintenance and that there maybe needs to be some type of a separate tracking system for mechanics, for maintenance, so that drivers and companies know which shops have problems and which shops don't. Nesta, we don't get to hear from you too often, so let's start off with you. What's your thought on that?
From past companies I've worked for, I say absolutely mechanics and shops should be held accountable. That's due to a lot of personal experience. This company I'm with now, they lease their trucks through Salem, and Salem Leasing does most of our work, so I'm not sure how they would even fit that in. Because we don't do our own work.
Right. Well, and I think you can track, anytime you take a truck to a shop where you as a driver says, I took it to shop X, they said
Right.
they fixed problem Y, and it's still there. There should be some form of way of tracking that. And I don't know what that's going to look like. Don't know how that would work, but I think that would be important. Terry, let's go.
So Tom, let me interrupt you there for just a moment. So in the proposed changes, they are dividing vehicle maintenance into two categories. Okay, vehicle maintenance called vehicle maintenance driver observed, which includes violations that could reasonably be observed by a driver or detected as part of a walk-around, and vehicle maintenance that includes all other vehicle maintenance violations more commonly identified by a mechanic doing routine maintenance or detected as part of a full roadside inspection. So they are dividing that out. Somebody, I guess, heard what you were concerned about there. So that's going to be two separate things going forward when they're looking at vehicle maintenance issues in these kinds of violations.
And I did see that, Tom, and I think that's a great step. That's a step in the right direction. I think they need to take one step further for both, because let's say you're a small company and you're going to an independent shop or maybe a national chain of repair shops, and they've got good shops and bad shops. How do you know that the shop you're going to maybe has a reputation of not doing repairs well, which is causing people problems down the road, where another shop may have a great reputation? How that would look on a federal level of tracking, I don't know, but maybe it could be something as simple as, hey, I went and got this repaired at this shop. Here's my receipt. It's still showing as a problem. Yeah, the carrier might still get some form of a ding on that, but I think the shop should have some kind of a ding as well. And I don't know exactly what that would look like or how that would be done, but I think something along the lines of what I suggest is a framework to at least get it started. But that's where I says you are right. They are at least separating what the driver can see from what has to be done by a mechanic, which is important because, Christine, you and I were talking about this earlier tonight. When it comes to these automatic slack adjusters, there's really not a good, easy way to measure them anymore. We're not allowed to adjust them anymore. So, so the thing is, a mechanic really has to be the one who decides that. Yet if it breaks out of adjustment because the DOT officer thinks it is, even if a mechanic says it's fine, it still goes on the driver in the company. So, yeah, breaking this up, I think, is important and is definitely a step in the right direction.
Exactly. I mean,
there should be sorry, Christine.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there should be some form of accountability to any shop that is a registered, licensed diesel repair shop. If I go in and have that slack adjuster done or whatever, and they tell me it's perfect, and then 20 miles later I get pulled in and they said it's not. If I'm able to prove that I just had that adjusted and it was got a green check mark done, it shouldn't go against the company. It shouldn't, even a small thing. It should not. If we just paid this shop to do this work, and DOT says no, it's not legal. It doesn't fit the bill. Then why can't there be a recording, like you're saying? Like we keep track of the companies and we keep track of the drivers. Any facility, any company that is a licensed, registered diesel repair shop, there needs to be some type of control over them as well. The accountability needs to go on them and not always on the driver or the company.
Absolutely.
And
that's
there
what we
should
were
be no
talking
ding
about.
on the company. None. Yeah, none.
Or the driver.
It's proven. Right. If I get pulled over like on the break, I was telling you guys I got pulled over for a bridge lock. I could not slide my tandems. The company knew it. It was Qualcomm back then. I sent a message. They said, just run with it. Go deliver the load. Well, when I got pulled over, I told the guy, here, look it. I reported it. Why are you giving me a ticket? He didn't care. If we can verify that either our shop knew about it, then blame our company, or it was repaired. The driver should not be held responsible, and the company should not be either if it's proven that within a reasonable amount of time it was proven and repaired by a shop, a licensed shop.
And we're getting near the top of the hour, and I want to try to go through everybody else here real quick. Hey, Bruce, what are your thoughts on this? We've got maybe about 30 seconds to a minute for you.
It's got to be, they got to redo it. I think they got to really seriously sit down and figure out how they're going to do it to accommodate where to put the blame. Who's going to get it? Like she was just saying, if she can prove, why should she get it? PSA points. It's not right.
And I think, the FMCSA, I think, is moving in the right direction by separating some of the stuff from both the driver and from the stuff that the driver can't see. But at the same token, there's a lot of stuff that the company is trusting the mechanic to say is right. And if it's not, now everybody's is up a creek without a paddle. Hey, Dutch, we got just about a minute here, maybe a little less. What are your thoughts?
Accountability. That's all it's about. Accountability. Who's accountable? The company, the driver, or a shop that the company actually paid for? That's why my other half always tells me, keep a receipt. Because that should show them, hey, I got this repaired. Why is it still showing up not being repaired? But I've done it before. I've tried it before, and they said, no, we don't care.
Well, they don't.
If you had a problem with it, you should have it repaired again. I'm like, I'm not wasting that time. I got to make money. I mean, they don't care. They really don't. But it should be accountability between either the company, driver, or a shop or mechanics.
And the drivers and the companies need to know where the bad shops are. We're getting ready to wrap this up here tonight.
Amen.
We have got Angie and Larry coming up next with Taillights. They got a great guest on tonight. It's Kylie from Truckers Against Trafficking. They're going to be having a wonderful conversation about that. Well, wonderful may be the wrong word, but an in-depth conversation about what it is and what they do. Then coming up next after them will be Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Banker. That will be at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. So we got more great programming coming up tonight. 69077. That's the booth to see us at next week at Matt's, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That's the IBI Security Transport booth. But that is where the great team from IBI will be sharing it with us. We look forward to seeing you there. Don't forget that event. I believe it starts at 12 on Friday for TFC Global and Robert Palm's Trucker's Final Mile. If you want more information, you can stop by the booth and find that out. We'll see you next week here on the radio and at the Truck Show.